Before you go any further, understand what this is. This is not a video, it is a transmission. What you are about to hear was buried for over 100 years, sanded down, sold back to you as something safe. It was never safe. Lower the lights, put in your headphones, watch this alone, and when it begins, do not look away, because the door it opens does not close again.
You wake up before the alarm. You always do. Your body knows the schedule even when your mind is still somewhere soft and dark. And for 1 second, one merciful second, you do not remember who you are. You are nothing. You are floating. Then it comes back. All of it. The weight of the day lands on your chest like a hand. The job, the number in the account, the thing you said, the thing you did not say. Gravity finds you again, and you are heavy, and you are awake, and you are afraid before your feet even touch the floor. You get up anyway. You always do. The coffee, the commute, the glow of the screen that you stare into for 8 hours, or 10, until your eyes ache and your back curls forward like a question mark. The hum of the fluorescent lights, that sound you stopped hearing years ago, the sound that has been pouring into your skull this whole time anyway. You move through it. You are good at moving through it. You have had a lifetime of practice. And somewhere underneath the noise, quiet as a splinter, there is a thought you do not let yourself finish. The thought is this: is this it? Is this the whole thing? The waiting rooms and the grocery lists and the slow gray dread on a Sunday night. The smiling when you do not mean it. The shrinking. The way the years are starting to move faster. The way you cannot remember most of last week. The way the walls of your life seem to have gotten closer while you were not looking. You feel like you are in a cell. And here is the part that will keep you awake tonight if you let it in. You are right. You are in a cell. You have been in it your whole life. But if you reach out in the dark and run your hands along the walls of it, looking for the brick, looking for the bars, you will not find them. Because the cell has no walls. The prison you are in was not built from stone. It was built from belief. From 1,000 small assumptions you were handed before you could speak and never once questioned, because no one ever told you that you could. You think the world is solid. You think it is happening to you. You think you are a small, soft thing that reality pushes around. Every part of that is a lie, and it is the most important lie you will ever uncover. Because more than 100 years ago, someone wrote it all down. The mechanics, the actual operating instructions for the thing you call reality. They wrote it in a thin book, in language so old and so plain that almost everyone who picked it up mistook it for poetry or superstition or nonsense and put it back down. They were wrong to put it down. Tonight, in the next 2 hours, you and I are going to open that book. We are going to take it apart, principle by principle, until the lie you were born inside of comes apart with it. And by the end, you are going to understand something that the sleepwalkers out there will go their entire lives without ever once suspecting. The mind that runs this world. It has been yours the whole time. Chapter 1. The artifact they buried. In 1908, a small book appeared in Chicago. It had no famous author on the cover. It did not announce itself. It was credited to 3 words that explained nothing and promised everything. The 3 initiates. No names, no faces, no biography. Just a claim, printed plainly on the title page, that the wisdom inside had been passed down in secret for thousands of years. From teacher to student, mouth to ear, never written, never sold, until now. They called it the Kybalion. And here is the first strange thing about it. The book tells you, almost immediately, that you are not ready for it. Read that again. The lips of wisdom are closed, except to the ears of understanding. It is not an insult. It is a warning. The initiates were telling you that the words on these pages would lie flat and dead in front of most people who read them. That you could hold the entire secret in your 2 hands, read every line, and walk away with nothing, because you did not yet have the ears to hear it. That is the first thing they hid the truth behind. Not a lock, not a vault. They hid it behind you, behind your own unreadiness. The most perfect hiding place ever devised, because the reader carries it with them everywhere and never thinks to look inside. Now, you have heard a word attached to this video, and I want to deal with it honestly, because the people we are speaking to are not children, and they can smell a lie. The word is forbidden. I am not going to tell you that men in robes burned this book in the street. I am not going to invent a story where governments hunted down every copy. That is not what happened, and you deserve better than a fairy tale. The Kybalion was never banned by any law you could point to. What happened to it was quieter than that, and far more effective. It was buried, not under dirt, under noise, under 100 years of cheap imitations and watered-down knockoffs that took its language and threw away its teeth. The ideas in this book got chopped up, sanded down, sweetened, and sold back to you as motivational posters and morning affirmations and the kind of soft, toothless positivity that asks nothing of you and changes nothing about you. They took a blade and they sold you the handle and threw away the edge. That is the real burial. You do not need to ban a dangerous book if you can drown it. If you can surround it with 10,000 harmless copies of itself until no one can tell the original from the imitation. Until the word that should have woken you up just sounds like every other word you have already learned to ignore. So when I say forbidden, I mean hidden in plain sight. I mean sitting on the shelf in front of you, declawed, disguised as something safe. It was never safe. Now, you may be wondering who actually wrote it. Because 3 Anonymous Initiates is a wonderful story, but you and I live in the real world. The trail leads to one man, a lawyer, a writer, a strange and prolific figure named William Walker Atkinson, who wrote under more names than anyone could comfortably keep track of, pouring out book after book on the hidden workings of the mind in the early years of the last century. Most scholars who have looked closely believe the 3 initiates were, in truth, one initiate, him, speaking through a mask, the way the old teachers always did, because the mask kept the eye on the message instead of the man. And that detail matters more than it looks. Because the whole point of this book is that the messenger is nothing and the principle is everything. A name would have given you someone to worship or someone to dismiss. Take away the name, and all you are left with is the law itself, standing naked in the room, demanding to be tested. So let us stop circling it. The Kybalion makes one central claim, and from that single claim, everything else in your life either makes sense or it does not. It lays out 7 principles, 7 keys, that it says govern all of reality, from the turning of galaxies down to the thought you are having at this exact second. But 6 of those 7 keys are doors. Only one of them is the master key that opens every door at once. And the moment you understand the master key, the cell you were born in stops being a prison and starts being something else entirely. Something you are going to have to sit very still to hear. So lean in, because this is where the floor drops out. Chapter 2. The first principle. The all is mind. The first principle of the Kybalion is the one they put at the very front, because everything else hangs from it like a body hangs from a spine. Pull this one out and the whole thing collapses. Understand this one, and you will never see a single ordinary object the same way again. It is 7 words long. The all is mind. The universe is mental. Say it slowly, because your brain is going to try to slide past it. Your brain has been trained your whole life to slide past it, the same way your ear slides past the hum of the lights. It sounds like a poem. It sounds like something you nod at and forget. Do not let yourself forget it. Stay here with me, because this is the hinge that the entire night turns on. The initiates are telling you that reality is not made of matter. It is made of mind. That the universe is not a giant machine of dead stuff that somehow, by accident, coughed up a few thinking creatures. It is the reverse. It is a thought, a mental thing. And everything you call solid, the chair, the wall, the body, the city, is something happening inside of mind, the way a dream happens inside the mind of a sleeper. Now I can feel the resistance from here. Because you know the table is solid. You can knock on it. You can break your knuckle on it. How can a solid table be made of mind? So let me hand you the thing that took the cleverest people of the last century the better part of 100 years to admit out loud. They went looking for the solid. They built bigger and bigger machines, and they smashed matter into smaller and smaller pieces, hunting for the hard little marble at the bottom of everything. The final speck of real solid stuff that the whole universe was built from. They never found it. They went down and down, past the atom, past the things inside the atom. And at the very bottom, where the solid marble was supposed to be, they found almost nothing at all. They found empty space. Mostly empty space. An atom is so empty that if you scaled it up to the size of a cathedral, the solid part, the part you could actually touch, would be a single grain of sand floating in the middle of all that vaulted air. You are not touching the table. Not really. You are a cloud of mostly empty space, held in a pattern, resting against another cloud of mostly empty space, held in another pattern. And the pushback you feel, the hardness, is not stuff meeting stuff. It is force. It is a relationship. It is information. The solid world is a rumor your senses agreed to believe. And the deeper they looked, the worse it got for the people who needed the world to be solid. Because they found that the tiniest pieces of reality do not even decide what they are going to be until something observes them, until attention lands on them. Left alone, unwatched, they are a blur of possibility, a fog of maybe. It is the act of looking that collapses the fog into a single hard fact. Sit with the size of that. At the bottom of everything, reality waits. It does not commit. It hangs in a cloud of every version of itself it could be, and it only chooses, only becomes one definite thing, in the presence of a mind. The initiates wrote that down in 1908. Plainly, the all is mind. They did not need the giant machines. They were telling you that mind does not live inside the universe. The universe lives inside mind. Now here is where I need you to make the turn that almost nobody makes. Because most people who get this far stop at a comfortable, distant version of it. They say, fine, the universe is some great cosmic mind, some far-off God mind, dreaming the stars. And then they go back to sleep. They keep the principle at arm's length, safely above them, running everything from far away, while they stay small and helpless down here. That is the sanitized version. That is the declawed version they sell on the shelf. The Kybalion is pointing at something far more dangerous. It is pointing at you. Because if the universe is mental, then it is running on mind. And you, right now, watching this, are not a thing inside the dream. looking up at the dreamer. There is no separate dreamer in the sky. The mind the universe is running on, the consciousness that collapses the fog into solid fact, is looking out through your eyes at this very second. You are not in the dream. You are the mind it obeys. Now do not let your hands shake yet, because knowing this and using this are two different worlds, and the gap between them is full of the wreckage of people who learned this much and then wondered why their lives did not change overnight. You learned the master key tonight. The all is mind. But a key is useless until you understand the lock. And the lock has a mechanism inside it, a strange and maddening mechanism that explains why your life still looks like your old life even after a truth this large has walked into the room. It explains why you can know tonight that you are the mind reality obeys and still wake up tomorrow in the same cell. The answer is a single broken clock buried at the center of everything. The initiates called it by another name, but you are going to call it what it is: the delayed echo. Chapter 3. The delayed echo. There is a broken clock at the center of your life, and until you find it, nothing you learn tonight will save you. Here is the maddening thing. You can finish this video. You can understand all the way down in your gut that the universe is mental and that you are the mind it answers to. You can feel it land, and then you will get up and walk into your kitchen, and your life will look exactly the way it looked before. The same bills, the same body, the same person who does not call you back. And a small, cruel voice will say, "See, nothing changed. It was just words." That voice is reading the echo, and it does not understand what an echo is. Stand in a canyon and shout your name. The canyon does not answer instantly. There is a gap. The sound flies out, crosses all that empty air, strikes the far rock, and comes rolling back to you seconds later. And in that gap, that lag, lives the entire reason your life feels stuck. The world you wake up inside of tomorrow morning is not being created tomorrow morning. It is an echo. It is reality rolling back to you, late, from a shout you let out long ago. The state you lived in, the assumptions you held about yourself, quietly, every single day. For years, the version of you that you believed was true when no one was watching. That was the shout. And the life around you right now, the job and the bank balance and the face in the mirror, is the sound coming back. You are not living in the present. You are standing inside the answer to a question you stopped remembering you asked. This is the delayed echo, and it explains the cruelest pattern in human life. The reason most people never escape. Watch what the sleepwalker does. He wants more. He wants a different life. So for one bright morning, he decides to believe in it. He feels good for an hour, and then he looks up at his actual life, the echo of who he has been for 10 years, and the echo is still the old life, because the old shout takes time to finish arriving. And he sees the old life, and he says, well, this is just reality. This is just the truth about me. And he sinks back down into the exact state he was in before. He reshouts the old word. Do you see the trap? Do you see how perfect it is? The echo of the old self arrives, and instead of recognizing it as old news, as a sound already on its way before he changed, he treats it as a verdict. He lets the leftover, the residue, the delayed sound of who he used to be, tell him who he is allowed to become. And so he renews it. Every day, he stands in the canyon and shouts the same tired name, then acts heartbroken when the canyon keeps saying it back. That is not reality being cruel to him. That is a man fighting the law and losing, and calling it fate. The operator, the one who is awake, does something the sleepwalker cannot do. He learns to ignore the echo. Read that as the discipline it is, because it is the hardest discipline there is. To shout a new word into the canyon, a word about who you now are, and then to stand there, calm, while the old echo keeps rolling back at you, to watch your bank account still say the old number, to watch the phone stay silent, to watch the body stay the same, and to not flinch, to not re-shout the old name in panic, to hold the new word steady in the dark, knowing with the certainty of someone who understands the mechanism that the gap is just the gap, that the new sound is already crossing the canyon, that it has to come back. It is law. The world will always show you your past. That is all it can do. It is a mirror, and mirrors are honest, and honesty about the past is not a prophecy about the future unless you make it one. So when you wake tomorrow and the cell looks the same, you will not panic. You will smile, the small grim smile of someone who has seen behind the curtain, and you will say, "Of course it looks the same. I am hearing the old shout. I have already let out a new one." That is the difference between the prisoner and the operator. Not the walls, the patience. But patience alone is not enough. Because there is a second question hiding underneath all of this. If the world is a mirror of an inner state, then which inner state? There is a lot happening inside you. There is the thing you say you want, and there is the thing you actually believe, and these two are very often at war. So how does reality know which one to reflect? For that, the initiates handed us the second key, and it is the most ruthless mirror ever described. Chapter 4, Correspondence. As above, so below. The second principle is the oldest line in the whole hidden tradition. It is older than the Kybalion. It is older than almost anything we still say. 7 words again, and they have been carved into the foundation of every secret school for thousands of years. As above, so below. As within, so without. The initiates called it the principle of correspondence, and what it says is simple and total. There is a correspondence, a matching, an exact rhyme between every level of reality. The pattern that runs the vast turns out to be the same pattern that runs the small. The way an atom holds together corresponds to the way a solar system holds together. The way a thought moves through your mind corresponds to the way your whole life arranges itself around you. Which means the inner and the outer are not two different things. They are one thing, written twice. Once in here, where only you can read it, and once out there, where everyone can. Picture your inner world as a room. Most people have never once gone inside it and looked around. But it is there, and it is furnished, and you have been living in it your whole life. And in that inner room, there is a temperature. There is a state. There is a default mood you return to when nothing is pulling at you. There is a story you tell about yourself in the dark, the one underneath all the brave talk. There is a quality to your inner room, and it might be cramped. It might be anxious. It might be a room where you are always slightly braced for the next blow. Correspondence says this, and it does not soften it. Your outer life is that room, turned inside out, made large, made physical. Walk through your actual days, and you are walking through the architecture of your own inner state, built up around you in concrete and other people and circumstance. This is why the cheap version fails. The poster on the shelf tells you to think positive, to slap a happy thought on top of the day like a sticker. But correspondence does not respond to the sticker. It responds to the room. It reflects what is within, and within is not your slogans. Within is what you actually secretly assume to be true about yourself when the lights go out and the performance ends. You can say the words. You can stand in front of the mirror and tell yourself you are wealthy, abundant, loved, free. And if the inner room is still a cramped cell that secretly believes you are small and unlucky and behind, then the mirror of the world will reflect the cell. Because the cell is what is actually within. The world is not fooled by your words. The world is reading your state. It has only ever been reading your state. This is the mirror that cannot lie. And it is the mirror that cannot be argued with. You cannot win a fight with a mirror. Think about how insane it would be to stand in front of the glass, scowling, and demand that the reflection smile first. To wait, furious, arms crossed, refusing to change your own face until the reflection changes its face. You would stand there forever. You would grow old in front of that glass, both of you frozen, each waiting for the other to move. And yet this is exactly, precisely, what the whole sleeping world is doing every day of its life. The sleepwalker says, "I will feel secure once the money arrives. I will feel worthy once they choose me. I will feel calm once the situation resolves." He is waiting for the reflection to smile so that he can finally allow himself to smile. He has the law exactly backward. He is standing in front of the most honest mirror in the universe, demanding that the world change his inner state for him, when the entire mechanism only runs in one direction. Within, then without. Above, then below. The state comes first, always. The state is the cause, and the world is the corresponding effect. And there has never been a single exception in the history of anything. So the operator stops fighting the mirror. He turns away from it entirely. He stops staring at the cold reflection of his life, demanding it warm up. He walks back into his own inner room, and he does the one thing that actually moves the glass. He changes his own face first. He builds, deliberately, the inner state of the man whose life he wants. Not the slogan of it, the lived inner temperature of it, the way that man would hold his shoulders in the dark, the way that man would assume, without effort, that things tend to work out for him. And he lives there, in that new room, patiently, while the great honest mirror of the world slowly, inevitably, turns to match. But to build a new state on purpose, you have to understand what a state actually is. Not as a feeling. As a thing, as a force with a structure you can learn to operate, the way an engineer operates a machine. And for that, the initiates gave us a principle that turns the whole soft world of mood and emotion into cold, usable mechanics. They told us that nothing in this universe stands still. Chapter 5. Vibration and the Signal. The third principle is the one that takes everything you think of as soft and mushy, your moods, your feelings, your faith and your fear, and turns it into physics. Nothing rests. Everything moves. Everything vibrates. The initiates wrote it in 1908, and the machines confirmed it later, the way they always seem to confirm it later. There is no such thing as truly solid, truly still matter. The stillest stone you can find is a storm of motion on the inside. Every particle of it humming, spinning, vibrating at a speed you cannot see. The difference between the stone and the steam rising off your coffee is not that one moves and one does not. They both move. The only difference is the rate, the frequency, how fast the hum runs. Now bring that home, because here is where it stops being a science lesson and becomes the most practical thing you will hear tonight. If everything is vibration, then so are you. And not just your body, your states. Your moods are not vague clouds that drift over you from nowhere. They are frequencies. Each one is a rate of vibration that you, the operator, are broadcasting out into the mental universe every second of wake or asleep, on purpose or by accident. This is the signal. This is the frequency. You are a transmitter, and you have never once been off the air. The despair you wake up in is a signal. The low, grinding anxiety is a signal. The quiet, settled certainty of a person who knows they are going to be fine is a signal. And the mental universe, which is a perfect mirror and a perfect echo, receives your signal and answers on the same frequency it received. Like answers like. The hum you put out is the hum that comes back. That is not a metaphor. In a mental universe, that is the wiring. So look at what the sleepwalker does with this. He broadcasts lack. All day, every day, he hums the frequency of not enough, not yet, not me. It is his default state, the temperature of his inner room. And then he is baffled, genuinely baffled, that more lack keeps rolling back to him. He is standing at the transmitter, broadcasting one exact signal at full power for 30 years, and wondering why he keeps receiving it back. He thinks the world is doing it to him. The world is just answering the phone. But here is the move that separates everything. Most people believe they have to chase a better feeling. That joy is something that happens to you, if you are lucky, if the circumstances line up. So they wait. They wait to feel abundant until they are abundant. They wait to feel safe until they are safe. They keep the transmitter tuned to lack and pray for a signal of plenty to somehow arrive. The operator does not chase the feeling. He tunes it. Because a frequency is not something you beg for. It is something you set. You would not stand in front of a radio screaming at it to play your favorite song and hoping the universe takes pity. You would turn the dial, deliberately, to the station you want. And you would hold it there, even through the static, until the music came in clear. A state is a dial. You can sit down right now, in the worst week of your life, and deliberately tune yourself to the frequency of the person whose problem is already solved. Not by lying about your circumstances, by choosing the way you choose to lift your own arm, the inner hum of someone who has already made it through. You hold the dial there. The static of the old life screams at you to let go. You hold it anyway, and underneath all of it, beneath every station, there is silence. The void. The carrier wave, the still, dark, empty potential that every frequency rides on top of. The initiates pointed at it, and the deep traditions all point at it, this quiet nothing underneath the something. And the operator learns to drop down into that silence on purpose, beneath all his loud, anxious signals, into the calm, dark place where no station is playing yet, and every station is still possible. Because it is from the void, from the silence, that a new frequency is chosen cleanly, without the old static dragging on it. You tune from the silence. You broadcast from the silence, and the universe hums back. Now you have 3 keys in your hand. The world is mental. The world mirrors your inner state. And your inner state is a frequency you can set on purpose. You are starting to see the shape of the machine. But there is a problem you have already felt in your own body, even if you have never had words for it. You tune the new station. You hold the dial, and something inside you fights it. Something drags you back down. You feel good for a day, and then you crash hard into a mood darker than the one you started in. You take one step toward the new life, and some invisible hand yanks you 2 steps back toward the old one. That hand has a name in this work. And the initiates explained exactly where it comes from, with 2 principles that operate as a single trap. Master them, and nothing can hold you down for long. Stay blind to them, and they will pull you back into the cell every single time, right at the moment you think you are finally free. Chapter 6. Polarity and Rhythm. The 2 hands of the old man. You take 1 step toward the new life, and something drags you 2 steps back. You have felt it. Everyone who has ever tried to change has felt it. The good day, bright and full of resolve, followed by the crash. The morning you wake up tuned to the new frequency, and by nightfall you are lower than you have been in months, ashamed, certain it was all a fantasy. You blame yourself. You think you are weak. You think the change did not take. It took. What you are feeling is not failure. It is 2 laws working exactly as they were designed to work. And the figure standing behind the pendulum, the one dragging you back, has a name in this work. The initiates gave us 2 principles here, and I am binding them together because in your actual life, they operate as one mechanism. The 4th principle is polarity. The 5th is rhythm. One is the map of the trap. The other is the swing of it. Start with polarity. Polarity says something that sounds impossible until it cracks open in your chest and changes everything. It says that opposites are not 2 different things. They are the same thing at different degrees. Hot and cold are not enemies. They are both temperature, the same thing, measured at different points on a single line. Where does hot end and cold begin? You cannot say. There is no wall between them. There is only a sliding scale, and 1 word for the high end, and another word for the low. Now apply that to the inside of your own skull, because this is where it becomes a weapon. Fear and faith are the same thing. Sit with that, because your instinct will be to reject it. Fear and faith feel like opposites. One is hell and one is heaven. But look closer. What is fear? Fear is the vivid, total, full-bodied assumption that something is real and coming for you. You can see it. You can feel it in your gut. Your whole nervous system bows to it as if it has already happened. And what is faith? Faith is the vivid, total, full-bodied assumption that something is real and coming for you. The structure is identical. The machinery is the same. The only difference, the only one, is the direction you have pointed it. The degree on the dial. The sleepwalker is not a man with no faith. He is a man of immense faith, the most powerful faith imaginable. And he has it aimed perfectly at his own ruin. He believes, with his whole body, in the disaster. He assumes it. He feels it is real. He is a master of the law, using it flawlessly in reverse. And this is the freedom hidden inside polarity. You do not have to manufacture faith out of nothing when you are drowning in fear. You do not have to cross some impossible gap from one substance to a completely different substance. You only have to slide the dial. The vivid energy is already there, roaring, fully lit. You just turn it. From the vivid assumption of the thing you dread to the equally vivid assumption of the thing you want. Same heat, new direction. That is polarity. That is the map. Now here is rhythm, the swing. The reason it is hard to hold the dial once you have turned it. Rhythm says everything moves like a pendulum, out and in, up and down. The tide comes, the tide goes. There is no rise without a fall to follow it. No swing in one direction without an answering swing back. It is the breath of the whole universe, in and out. And you are inside it, whether you understand it or not. So watch what happens when you change your state. You turn the dial, you swing yourself, deliberately, all the way up to the high pole, the bright assumption, the new self. You feel magnificent. You feel certain. And then, because this is a universe of rhythm, the pendulum does what pendulums do. It swings back. It carries you down, away from the high you reached, toward the low pole. And as you sink, the old self rushes back in to meet you. The doubt, the dread, the familiar gray weight. This is the backlash. This is the old man fighting for his life. Because the old self, the shadow, the worn-out identity you have been wearing for decades, does not want to die. It is a pattern with momentum. And when you reach for a new state, that old pattern surges up, and it uses the natural swing of rhythm as its weapon. It waits for the pendulum to come back down, and right there at the bottom, in the crash after the high, it whispers to you. See? You always come back down. This is the truth. The high was the lie. This low is the real you, and almost everyone believes it. They feel the swing back and they read it as a verdict, the same way they read the echo as a verdict. And they let go of the dial and slide all the way back into the cell. The operator knows the swing is coming. That is the whole secret. He does not get ambushed by the backlash because he expected it. When the crash comes, when the dread rushes back the day after the breakthrough, he does not panic and he does not believe it. He says calmly, "There it is, the pendulum, right on time." And the initiates gave us the master move, the thing they called the art of neutralization. You do not fight the swing. You rise above it. You refuse to be carried down to the low pole by simply declining to identify with it. You let the dark mood pass through you like weather through a window, watching it, unmoved, your hand still on the dial, your new state still set, while the pendulum swings and finds you every time, refusing to come down with it. Master that, and the old man loses his only weapon. He can still swing the pendulum. He just can no longer convince you to let go. But there is a deeper objection underneath all of this, and a serious mind will have raised it by now. All this talk of dials and states and frequencies. Maybe the world just happens. Maybe things are random. Maybe you are giving yourself credit and blame for a universe that is really just chance and accident, indifferent, mechanical, blind. The initiates anticipated you. And the sixth principle takes the idea of accident and removes it from the universe entirely. Chapter 7. Cause and effect. There are no accidents. Maybe it is all just chance. It is the last refuge of the sleeping mind, and it is a comfortable one. So let us walk into it with our eyes open. Because if the world is random, then you are off the hook. If things just happen, then your state does not matter. Your assumptions do not matter. And you can go back to sleep with a clear conscience, a leaf on the wind, blameless and powerless, which is exactly the trade most people are quietly desperate to make. The sixth principle takes that comfort away. Every cause has its effect. Every effect has its cause. And then the line that should stop your breath. Chance is but a name for law not recognized. There is no such thing as luck. There is no such thing as accident. There is only cause marching forward into effect, in an unbroken chain that runs from the beginning of time to the thought you are having right now, and onward into everything that will ever happen to you. When you call something chance, you are not describing the universe. You are describing the edge of your own sight. You are pointing at a chain of cause that is simply too long, or too subtle, or too far back for you to trace. The law is still running. You just cannot see the line. Now here is the cruel and liberating thing the initiates show us next. There are two kinds of people walking through this world of cause and effect, and they look identical from the outside. and they live in completely different universes. The first kind is the effect. The sleepwalker is an effect, and almost nothing else. Watch him. A headline frightens him, so he's afraid. A co-worker is cold to him, so his whole day darkens. The weather is gray, so he is gray. Someone cuts him off in traffic, and the mood follows him for hours. He is a leaf on the wind, exactly as he wished to be. Pushed by every passing cause, reacting, always reacting. A billiard ball struck by the last thing that struck him. He calls this being realistic. He calls this just responding to life. He is, in truth, a thing that things happen to. A node where other people's causes pass through and become effects. And the second kind. The operator refuses to be a link that merely passes the chain along. He plants himself at the start of the chain instead of the end of it. He becomes a cause. When the headline comes, he chooses his state instead of inheriting it. When the cold coworker passes, the cold does not enter him, because he is generating his own inner weather from the inside, and the outside cannot reach the dial. He is not pushed, he pushes. He sits upstream of his own life, deciding the cause, and lets the effects roll downhill exactly as the law promises they will. This is where everything we have built tonight locks into a single line, and I want you to feel the weight of it land. If the universe is mental, and if cause runs unbroken into effect, then your assumed state is the cause, and the entire world is the effect. Read it slowly. The state you hold, the inner self you assume to be true, the frequency you broadcast from your inner room, that is the first domino. That is the cause that has no cause above it except your own consciousness. And everything downstream, the circumstances, the meetings, the money, the people who arrive and the people who leave, all of it is effect. The world is not the cause of your state. The world is the effect of it, arriving late, on a delay, rolling back like the echo, but arriving, always arriving, because it is law. This is why the sleepwalker can never win by rearranging the effects. He pushes the furniture of his life around endlessly. New job, new city, new partner, new diet, forever chasing a better effect while broadcasting the same old cause. And the law, faithful and merciless, keeps handing him the same life in new packaging, because he keeps planting the same seed and praying for a different harvest. Stop touching the effects. Move to the cause. There is only one cause you have ever had real control over, only one domino your hand can actually reach. It is the state you choose to occupy. And the staggering news the initiates have been building toward this whole time, the news that the whole sleeping world is structured to keep you from hearing, is that you can reach it. Right now. You can put your hand on the first domino of your entire reality. You have in your hand all 7 keys but one. The world is mental. It mirrors your state. Your state is a frequency. You can turn the dial. The swingback is a trick, not a verdict. And nothing is an accident. There is one principle left to give. But before the 7th, everything we have learned collapses into a single blinding point. The whole purpose of the night. The thing I promised you in the dark at the very beginning. The thing I have planted twice and will now finally hand you. Brace yourself. Because this is the line they buried the book to keep you from saying out loud. Chapter 8. The Operant Power. If reality is mental, then you are the mind it obeys. That is it. That is the whole book. That is the thing they wrapped in 7 principles in ancient language and a warning that the lips of wisdom stay closed to all but the ready. Everything else was the long walk to this one room. And now you are standing in it. Let me put the 7 keys in your hand at once, because separately they are ideas, but together they are a single instrument, and you are about to feel why they buried it. The universe is mental, so it is made of the same stuff as your thought. Correspondence. Your inner state writes itself onto the outer world, exactly, without mercy. Vibration. That state is a frequency you set, not a mood you suffer. Polarity. You can turn fear into faith by sliding one dial, because they were always the same fire. Rhythm. The backlash that comes for you is a swing, not a sentence, and you can rise above it. Cause and effect. Your assumed state is the first cause, and your whole life is the effect rolling downhill from it. 7 keys, 1 lock, and the lock is the door of the cell you woke up in this morning. When you hold them all at once, they stop being 7 and become 1. They become a single capacity. The old teachers had a name for it. The will that operates the law instead of being operated by it. The conscious power that causes instead of suffers. The operant power. You are not a character inside the world, hoping the world will be kind. You are the consciousness the world is rendered by. The dreamer who forgot he was dreaming and started flinching at his own dream. And the moment you remember, the entire relationship inverts. You stop asking reality for permission. You stop waiting for the reflection to smile, for the echo to change, for the pendulum to stay up on its own. You take the dial in your own hand and you set it deliberately to the state of the self you intend to be. And you hold it there through the static and the swing back and the long delay, with the patience of someone who finally understands that he is not begging a stranger. He is operating a machine that has only ever answered to him. Now I have to give you the most practical and the most dangerous part. Because the operant power is not just about the state you set going forward. It reaches backward too. The past is not fixed. Understand what I mean? Because I mean it precisely. The events of your past are gone. But the past as it lives inside you, the past that is actually causing your present, is not the events. It is the version of those events you replay in your inner room, charged with the same old feeling, the humiliation, the loss, the moment it all went wrong, played and replayed until it sets the frequency of your whole life. You are not haunted by your past, you are broadcasting it. Every time you relive the old wound exactly as it happened, you reshout the old word into the canyon, and the echo comes back as a present that matches. So the operator does the thing that sounds like madness and is in fact the deepest mechanic of all. He revises. He takes the scene that wounded him, the one he has replayed 1,000 times, and in the privacy of his own mind, in vivid detail, with full feeling, he rewrites it. He lives it again the way it should have gone. He does not pretend it did not happen out there. He changes what is happening in here, where the cause actually lives. He rewrites the chemical past, the felt past, the broadcasting past, until the inner scene that was setting his frequency is replaced by one that sets a new one. This is the whole art. You do not beg for the future. You assume it now as a present fact, and you feel it as real, the way fear feels real, the way the worst day of your life still feels real decades later. That total, full-bodied, in-the-body reality of the thing already done. That is the wish fulfilled, not wishing. Fulfilled, held not as a hope that it might come, but as the calm, settled, almost boring certainty of someone for whom it already has. A wish held as a wish broadcasts the frequency of not yet. and the faithful mirror reflects not yet, forever. The same state, assumed as a present fact, broadcasts done. And the world, on its delay, through its swings, around its long, invisible chains of cause, has no choice. It is mental. It mirrors. It echoes. It obeys. This is the operant power. Not a trick to get toys. The recovered birthright of a mind that woke up inside its own creation and remembered whose creation it was. You are awake now, or you are close. And being this close is dangerous, because what I have handed you in the last few minutes is the diagnosis. The proof that the cell is mental and the mind is yours. But a diagnosis is not the same as a discipline. Knowing you are the operant power and living as the operant power day after day through the backlash and the doubt and the long gray delays are two different things. And the gap between them has swallowed almost everyone who ever got this far. You are going to need the actual instructions, not the law, the hands that work it. Chapter 9. The Decoded Manual. Here is the problem with what you have just been given. The Kybalion hands you the law. It tells you, in 7 principles, exactly how reality is built and exactly why you are the mind it answers to. And then it does something almost cruel. It stops. It gives you the blueprint of the prison and the proof that the door was never locked. What it does not give you is the thing you need most at 3 in the morning when the backlash has you by the throat and the old life is screaming that none of this was ever real. It does not give you the operating instructions for a human nervous system, the day-by-day discipline, what to actually do when the revision will not hold, how to feed the mind when the dread comes back, how to stand inside the long gray delay without breaking and re-shouting the old word. The initiates wrote for initiates. They wrote the law and trusted you to find the hands, and most people never do. They learn this much, they feel the floor drop out, and then they walk back into the same life because nobody ever handed them the manual. We wrote the manual. There is a book. We built it for exactly this moment, for the person standing where you are standing right now, awake enough to see the cell and not yet trained enough to walk out of it. It is called the Invisible Prison, the Awakening God's Manual for Bending Reality. And it begins precisely where this leaves off. Its first law is the one you just learned tonight, mentalism. The all is mind. It takes that single key and it does what the Kybalion refused to do. It puts it in your hands and teaches you to use it, scene by scene, crisis by crisis, through the debt and the illness and the grief and the long, ordinary Tuesdays where nothing has changed yet, and faith is the only thing you have left. It is the same buried wisdom, traced down through another forbidden text, another voice they sanded the teeth off of and sold back to the world as something safe. We took the teeth and put them back. The discipline of the silence, the art of revision, step by step. What to do in the echo when the old manifestations are still arriving while we are holding the new state. The specific artifacts, the actual exercises, for the worst seasons of a life and not just the easy ones. I am not going to dress it up as anything other than what it is. It is the full decoded manual for the thing you just learned tonight is true. If the cold open found you, if the master key landed, if some part of you has been quietly screaming yes this whole time, the manual is where you go next. It is in the description. It is waiting in the same shaft of light the Kybalion sat in for 100 years. But take it only if you mean it. Because there are 2 principles left in the Kybalion, and the next one is intimate, and the one after it is a warning. And the warning is for exactly the kind of person who reaches for a manual like this. The kind of person who now knows they have power and has not yet learned what power does to a mind that is not ready for it. So before you walk out of this cell, you need to understand how creation actually happens inside you, not as force, as something far older and far quieter. The seventh and final principle. Chapter 10. Gender and the Inner Marriage. The seventh principle is the one most people skip, because the word on the front of it makes them think it is about something it is not about at all. Gender is in everything. And the initiates are at pains to tell you, almost immediately, that they do not mean what you think they mean. This is not about men and women. This is not about bodies. This is about the two forces that have to come together inside a single mind for anything to be created at all. They borrowed the oldest names available, masculine and feminine, because the act of mental creation rhymes, by correspondence, with the act of physical creation, the same pattern, above and below. Inside you there is a masculine principle. Call it the will, the directing power. The part of you that chooses, that decides, that forms the clear intention and projects it. It is the seed. It is the spark. It is the conscious mind reaching out and saying, this, I assume this. And inside you, there is a feminine principle. And this is the one the loud, striving, forcing world has forgotten entirely. It is the receptive power, the deep subconscious, the dark soil, the void itself, the silent carrier wave from beneath every frequency. It is the part of you that takes the seed and grows it in the dark, slowly, with no help and no hurry, into a living thing. It does not push. It gestates. And here is why almost everyone fails at this work, why they strain and force and white-knuckle their affirmations and get nothing. They are trying to create with the masculine principle alone. All seed, no soil, all will, no surrender. They take the intention and they grip it and they repeat it and they hammer it harder and harder, mistaking force for power. And nothing grows because you cannot grow a seed by crushing it in your fist. You cannot make the soil hurry by shouting at the ground. Creation is a marriage. The will forms the intention, clear and whole, the assumption of the wish already fulfilled. That is the masculine act. And then, and this is the part that breaks the strivers, it lets go. It plants the seed into the dark, feminine soil of the subconscious, into the void, into the silence beneath all the signals, and it releases it. It trusts the dark to do its work. It stops digging the seed up every hour to check on it. It walks away in calm certainty and lets the deep, receptive mind gestate the thing in its own time, in the long delay, through the swings, exactly as the soil grows a tree without ever once being supervised. This is the inner marriage. This is the union the old alchemists drew as the sun and the moon joined in one body. The clarity of the assumption married to the surrender of the release, the seed and the soil. And when those two come together inside you, when you assume the wish fulfilled with the full, vivid feeling of the masculine will, and then release it into the patient dark of the feminine void, without grasping, without checking, without forcing, that is the complete act of creation. That is the whole mechanism running clean. The sleepwalker only knows how to grasp. The operator knows how to plant and walk away. And the difference between them is the difference between a man strangling a seed and a man growing a forest. So now you have all seven. The complete instrument. You know what reality is, and you know how to operate it, from the first cause to the final surrender. Which means you are now exactly as dangerous as the initiates feared you would be. Because a mind that has all seven keys and has not yet mastered itself is the most dangerous thing in the world. And the Kybalion, having handed you the power, turns at the very end and gives you a warning.
You woke up in a cell with no walls. You have not moved from your chair. And yet you are not the same person who pressed play. You have the 7 keys now. You know the world is mental. You know it mirrors the state you hold and answers on the frequency you broadcast. You know the echo is not a verdict, that the pendulum always swings back, and that nothing is an accident. And underneath all of it, the one line they buried the book to keep you from saying out loud. If reality is mental, you are the mind it obeys. But you heard the warning too. Power without the discipline. The drunk magician reaching for toys while the cell quietly locks behind him. Knowing the law is not the same as living it, day after grey day, while the old life is still showing up and your faith is the only thing you have left. That is what the manual is for. The Awakening God's Manual for Bending Reality. The full instructions decoded for the part where you actually walk out. It is waiting in the description below. The lights still hum, gravity still pulls. But the door is open now, and it was never locked. I will see you on the other side of it.